Hey guys, we're live. You'll see that there's no Jason tonight. Sorry about that. Jason had other things going on tonight and just couldn't make it. So it is what it is. We'll just have to slug by without him tonight. Feel free to leave your comments and things. Don't forget to like when you come aboard. Like us and subscribe and share it. We'd appreciate it. We can do a lot better quality shows if we get more subscribers, more likes and stuff, and our algorithm starts showing up on when you punch in Iowa Hawkeyes on YouTube, we want it to show up on the list of all the other podcasters that are out there. And we can do that, then we can get some sponsors and some sponsors to maybe get some up equipment, do some things differently, kind of look a little more professional or however we want to do it. But I just, we need you guys' help. I mean, there are so many of you follow on both my page and Jason's page on everything Iowa Hawkeye Sports and mine Iowa Hawkeye Sports. If every one of you would subscribe, we'd be close to 8,000 people between the two of us, 8 or 9,000 people between the two of our shows. So anyway, let's get started. This is supposed to be a men and women's preview, but I wanted to bring up a couple of football things first. In case you haven't heard, the NCAA committee has delayed its vote for 2 weeks on, bringing people like the wrestlers and Noah back to the game, lifting their suspensions, I should say. So Noah's going to miss the Northwestern game after all, actually when we thought Noah would be back for the game. So that's not good. It's a little disappointing. And, of course, the wrestlers, I guess some of the wrestlers are going to be reinstated, so that's good news too. What looked like it was going to be kind of a difficult season for the wrestlers look like now will be better whenever they get them back. But it doesn't affect wrestling as much as it does football because by the time we get Noah back, we'll probably only have 2 or 3 games left.
Can Noah play quarterback?
I wonder. Can anybody else? I could play quarterback better than that.
The defense doesn't really need more help. It's the offense that needs some help. So
right. And I agree with that. I just want Noah to get out there because he's a good guy. He came back for a 6th year. I just want him to get out there and play some games, Yeah. And I know that we're pretty covered on defense right now, so that's good. But it just gives us a little more depth, a little more strength. Maybe we could put him on the offensive line. Would that be something? Use that big body of his and push some people out of the way.
Maybe he could play fullback.
That too. Can you imagine the guy that size running through the line with the ball?
Or just being the lead blocker for,
Yeah. That too. Anything. They got to come up with a plan. They do got to come up with a plan. I don't know what that's going to be. That's up to them. They're the ones that get paid millions of dollars a year to figure this out. And as Kirk says, win games. That's the most important thing. Win games.
Yeah. At this point, I think it's pretty obvious. They have a plan. It's 3 runs and a punt and don't screw it up.
Right. Yeah, that seems to be the working plan right now. We can't throw the ball. We can't run the ball. Let's just keep punting and let that. Maybe we'll get lucky and we'll get a Cooper DeJean punt return for a touchdown.
That is the offense that we have.
Or pick 6. Okay. Let's just speaking of Cooper DeJean, let's just put a bow on this and so we can put it to rest right now. So.
By the way, I think I should go on the other night.
What's that?
I'm sorry I couldn't go on the other night.
Yeah.
Is it just?
Yeah. Well, Paul, before we bow it up, you didn't get a chance to go off on your piece. Do you want to say anything about it while we giving you the open mic for it?
I don't want us to lose our ability to post on YouTube, so okay. I'm going to decline to say anything. I don't want to face a fine from the Big Ten or anyone else for that matter, or the SEC. Okay. And I don't mean the Southeast Conference. I mean, if I say the things that are really on my mind, who knows? They could shut down the whole internet at this point. So
Right.
we're just gonna let it go.
Well, just to let you guys know, I did have a short conversation with Paul over the phone after the game, and he needed to vent a little bit. And I can tell you that if he had to say repeat some of those things, it wouldn't be good. None of us are over it, and we'll probably never be over it. But
I'm not over the 2006 Florida game. I haven't been this angry about how a game ended since that Outback Bowl against Florida. So
was that the one where we were offsides on the
but we weren't
offside
offside. Yeah,
on the side kick?
Chris Spielman is on the broadcast going, he's not offside. What? I mean, those refs were comparable throughout the game.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and I have not seen a officiating job done that poorly, or maybe it was done exactly the way it was intended to be done. Who knows?
Right. Yeah. So okay. Let's just say I want to flush it. I've quit listening to all the podcasts about it because we're all saying the same thing. Big Ten officials and NCAA officials have all come out and had a news conference with Chad Lysico
together on that.
Yeah. They're all together on the fact that it was a black and white issue, and that was the letter of the law, and they had to follow it. There was no room for interpretation. But every news media people who saw that,
they didn't call it on the field, though.
Yeah.
So black and white, they didn't. Nobody actually called it on the field. Okay.
Right.
But it's black and white.
Got it. It's still open to interpretation. Everybody who's looked at the rules says it's open to interpretation. And so it is what it is. We lost it. We're not going to get it back. As much as we'd like to go back and replay the game and start with the point after kick by Drew Stevens and play the game from there, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on. Let's start talking about good things. Like we've got the number 3 ranked, preseason ranked Iowa women's basketball team. Let's preview them a little bit.
Sure.
Okay. Coming up, they've already shown in preseason that they knocked off a pretty decent, solid DePaul team that's supposed to be pretty decent themselves, and just smoked them. Outside, everybody saw that crossover at Kennick. Can you believe that only 84,000 people saw that on TV? That's what the BTN said. Only 84,000 people saw that. And you compare the game that LSU and Iowa were in for the national title game, 9 million people saw that game.
So, one, I don't think first it was on the Big Ten network, right? So, I mean, if this was on one of the network stations, I think it would have easily gotten 1 million, 2 million plus viewers.
Could be, yeah.
But we are talking about an exhibition, right? So this isn't even a game that counts.
Right.
And it still got close to 1 million viewers? No, close to 100,000 viewers. What did you say?
184,000. That's a long ways from 1 million.
That seems really, really low. But again, the game was competing with the NFL on Sundays.
Yes.
On the Big Ten network, on a network that,
not everybody gets.
Right.
Yeah.
For the people that are outside the Big Ten footprint, like myself, if you're paying for cable TV, you probably have to have an added subscription to get the Big Ten network. That's what I used to suffer through before I got YouTube TV, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into why maybe the viewing, and again, I don't know how they really can measure the streaming, so I don't know. But
yeah, I would like to say I also have YouTube TV, and I do have to pay for the package that. No, I don't. That was my previous cable survivor. I had to pay for the right to watch Big Ten TV.
Right.
But now that the Big Ten's going to be here in California, I hope that they stop making people pay for that because it's supposed to be free automatically to anybody in a Big Ten market.
In a Big Ten footprint. Right.
Yeah, and I'm definitely there for next year, baby.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
So, Caitlin, I tried to watch this. Caitlin is picked as a preseason All-American, and so is Paige Buckner, which not surprising. Angel Reese, not surprising, and a girl from Stanford, not surprising. I can't remember. I don't know where. I think she transferred from somewhere into Stanford.
Okay.
I can't remember her name, and then there's one more girl who completely slips my mind on who the 5 were, because the article I went to only named Caitlin. I didn't mention the others, but I saw a TikTok video.
If I had to guess, I mean, I think it would be like that Haley Van Lith girl.
She wasn't listed.
Interesting. Okay.
Interesting. That's because she plays on the same team with Angel Reese, so
that could be.
Could you imagine 2 preseason All-Americans or 2 All-Americans coming from one team? Yeah. Anyway, okay. So the projected starters that I've got are Kate Martin, Gabby Marshall, Caitlin Clark. No surprise. Those are 3 starters from last year.
Right.
Hannah Stolke, I would think, would take the number 4 spot, and I would see that Addison O'Grady would take the number 5 spot.
Right.
I think she'd be backed up by Sharon Goodman. It looks like they're going to double team that spot this year. And from what I saw on TV the other day against Clark College, I would say that they make a good team. They more than make up for the loss of Monica Sonano.
Yeah.
Okay. The person I could see coming in for Hannah Stolke, I had a hard time coming up with a name on this one, and I think it could be a plethora of people. But I came up with AJ Ediger as possibly her. Because these people are naming, I feel like are going to see a lot of playing time. And Caitlin Clark and Gabby Marshall will probably see a variety of people from them. I think if Caitlin needs to have a rest real quick, Molly Davis would probably be the one. But don't be surprised if Taylor McCabe or Sydney Alford come out and also cover for them and move people around.
Is Taylor
McCabe would also probably take Gabby Marshall's spot on the floor when she's not there.
But not in my heart.
Not in your heart. Yeah, I know. And Kate Martin, like I said, the 3 guard spots are probably interchangeable, and she can do what she wants with them. But Kylie Feuerbach and Sydney Alford, I can't even say that name, would probably also be part of that rotation, is my book.
Yeah.
I think the 3 people who aren't going to see a ton of playing time except in blowouts, well, one's not going to see any, is Ava Jones, because she's not able to yet.
Right.
Although there was a video of her on the floor standing still shooting baskets at Iowa at Carver Hawkeye, so that's good news.
Right.
You know, I mean, obviously she's not ready to run and jump and stuff yet, but she's out there shooting.
Yeah.
Okay. But I got Kenise Johnson, which she's a freshman and a roommate to Ava Jones. Not seeing a lot of playing time, and she's only 5'4". She's shortest girl on the team. And Jada Jimfi, I know that's she might see some playing time, but I'm just judging by what I saw in the first 2 scrimmages. Is she wasn't on the floor a lot during the scrimmages. I know everybody played, and so anyway, anything there that you want to add to it or
I
say
think
anything?
short of foul trouble, we're probably not as deep this year as we were last year. I know Mon was really our only starter, I think, that we lost, but I think we might have lost some pieces on the bench as well. So I could see us really having a shorter rotation, except barring foul trouble. I think we're likely to tighten it up.
Right. I think Hannah Stolke's going to come. You know, she showed flashes last year, and honestly, I think she could be. I think she could be pushing Caitlin for scoring all the time.
Could be.
She just looks so smooth, but what I did see in the highlight, she was getting a lot of feeds from Caitlin. Caitlin was feeding her well.
Well, she
And I
does
think
that,
that's what,
right?
yeah, she does. I think this year Caitlin's going to have to get more people involved. She's going to have to feed a lot of people different the balls and stuff like that.
Well, she's going to draw a lot of attention, right? So, I mean,
She is. She is definitely going to draw a lot of attention. And
you
okay.
have to love the fact that not only does that not bother her, but I think she almost invites it, welcomes it. Like, yeah, come double, triple teaming because she is not. It does not bother her to assist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, she likes that assist. She likes getting it.
Mm.
Okay. I don't know who FDU is, but that's our first official game on November 6th.
FDU.
Yeah.
It's not Old Dominion. It's not ODU.
Florida Directional College. I don't know. Yeah.
Mm,
I was going over the schedule, and this schedule, the non-conference schedule, is not that tough. We got Virginia Tech, a Final Four team, but I don't think they're being. I don't know. We'd have to look it up. Let me look it up and see it with Virginia Tech's in the preseason rankings. I don't remember seeing them. Is Virginia Tech women's basketball team ranked in the preseason poll?
Mm.
Oh, never mind. They're number 8.
Okay.
Number 8. So I missed them. So that's going to be a real test. We're going to be playing that game in North Carolina.
Mm.
I'm not sure why they decided on a neutral site. Maybe because they both were Final Four and they thought, to be fair, they should go to a neutral site. Although they're a lot closer to Virginia than they are Iowa.
Right. Yeah, it's not exactly neutral, but I wonder, is that part of some kind of tournament, maybe like a Gavitt Games or something?
That could be. I don't know. They don't really say. They just put it down as a game to play.
All right.
Another game is UNI, which UNI announced today that game is sold out. First time in history that they've sold out their arena for a women's
Wow.
basketball game. And you know why it's sold out, obviously.
That's the Caitlin Clark factor.
Right. So
Yeah.
I think another key game, Drake. Drake is always tough for them, no matter where Drake is ranked and stuff. And Iowa State. Iowa State's always ranked, and they've always got that team playing, and they've brought in a couple transfers this year. So that game's going to be tough, and they got to play that in Ames.
Mm.
So that's the way I look at it. So I think those are their toughest. The games I just brought are the toughest non-conference games. I think they'll win them all. I think they'll be undefeated in non-conference. And I think they'll win most of their Big Ten games like they did last year. There are 6 key games, though, I singled out that could tell the difference. 6 key games. The first one would be with Indiana when they play in Iowa City on January 13th. The next one is a week later when they play Ohio State at Ohio State.
Mm.
Maryland, we play there on February 3rd. Michigan, we play in Iowa City on February 15th. And then we got a return game with Indiana on February 22nd.
Oh, on my
at
birthday.
their place. Oh, cool. Cool. Happy birthday. I hope they get you a win. Yeah. And then we got Ohio State.
Gabby blows me a kiss.
Yeah, there you go. They're coming down to Florida. Or is that the guys?
That's the baseball team.
I think
the men might be.
Not the women. We'll get to the men. The men are coming to Florida.
Okay.
They're playing 2 games in Florida, I think, or 3 games. I'll have to double check that. Hang on, let me look at that. I don't want to screw this up. Okay, one of them's going to Florida. I just don't know which one because I guess I didn't write it down.
Alrighty.
How did I miss that? But whoever they're playing in, here it is. It's there. They're playing Purdue, Fort Wayne in Florida, and they're also playing Delaware in Florida.
I wonder where in
And,
Florida
and then
is
they'll
it?
play a third game in Florida to be
They're probably
announced.
playing in like Destin or something, which is
Oh,
far from me. It's
well, let's find out. We got time. We don't have any commenters commenting right now, so
we do not.
we do not. I guess we found out how popular basketball is. Alrighty, let's see. Women's basketball schedule. Okay, so Estero, Florida.
Estero, Florida. Huh.
Is that close
I've
to you?
heard of it. I've heard of it, but I have no idea where it is.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Okay. So
It's
anyway,
probably
I
out
was
on
going.
the panhandle.
What's that?
It's probably out on the panhandle.
Hmm. Aren't you out in the Panhandle, Jacksonville?
No, northeast corner. Let's
Okay.
see. Where is Estero? It's a pretty beach town. It's pretty cool.
Oh wow,
Let's
cool.
see.
You know where the
Google
girls will be
Maps.
when they're not playing ball.
So is it the women or the men?
The women.
So it's the women that are coming to Estero. I'm trying to zoom out on this map so I can.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Well,
Estero, Florida.
Here you go.
It's in Lee County. It'll take me 7 hours and 19 minutes if I get on an airplane to get there. Located beside the first aquatic nature preserve established in Florida.
Yeah,
Aquatic
I got
Bay
it now.
Preserve.
I'm zooming out now. So let's see
just
where
sequence.
Bonita Bay. So it's 75.
Oh, it's quite down. It's down a ways from you.
Oh yeah, because I'm in the upper right hand corner of the state, and it's down near Fort Myers and south of Fort Myers.
Yeah, way south. Okay. Getting probably closer to Orlando and Miami, somewhere in there, huh?
It's way south of Orlando, even. It's south of Tampa. So yeah, I mean, for me, it would probably be a 6 or 7 hour car ride.
Yeah.
One way.
Yeah, because Florida's a long state.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, that's what we learned. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I found some interesting stats from last year's team. Of course, we had 31 wins. I think that's the most they've ever had.
I'm sure it is.
You know, they were national runner-ups. They were number one in, this is nationally, number one in field goal percentage at 51.1%. They were number one in scoring at 87.3 points a game. Number one in assists at 20.9 a game. Can you believe that? 20 assists a game.
I can believe that because, I mean, we were usually getting 10 plus out of Caitlin Clark.
That's true. That's true. We were number 7 in three-pointers at 38%. Number 7 in three-point goals made, 9.2 a game. Okay. Interesting stat. Bluter has 68% winning percentage with 850 wins versus 389 losses.
The other thing that those stats aren't going to show too is I'm sure Iowa's close to the top in the country in field goals, assisted field goals. Because I remember them saying like all last year, you know, it seemed like, you know, Iowa would have 18 baskets on 16 assists. Like it was just.
Okay. Jared, to answer your question, good timing. Ohio State's ranked, Indiana's ranked, Maryland's ranked. I thought there was one more, and I can't think of who that is.
typically,
Women's basketball preseason.
uh, the Nebraska women are usually pretty good. I wonder if Michigan State's women are any good this year. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Okay, so here we go. ESPN does not think as well as everybody else does of Iowa. They've got Ohio State ranked 4th, Iowa number 6, Virginia Tech, one of our opponents, at number 7, Indiana at number 10, Maryland at number 13. Well, in this poll, there's not another Big Ten team. I thought there was one more, but this poll, ESPN's poll, is a lot different than what came out. It's because they're number 3 in 2 polls: Sports Illustrated and AP.
Okay.
Maybe. Okay. I don't know if they're number 3 or not. We'll find out by the time they get to play in Ohio State, because Ohio State's got a pretty solid team. They got people back that were injured last year.
Yeah.
They've got some people that are returning, and plus I think they got a couple of transfers, so they might be the team to beat this year. We'll see. It just depends on how Caitlin and crew how they figured things out this year. Okay.
Well, you've always got your usual suspects up there, right? So I mean, Iowa's in that competition. They're competing with LSU, South Carolina, UConn, Tennessee, Ohio State. I mean, there's not a lot of separation. Stanford, there's not a ton of separation there. I bet Baylor might even be pretty good. I don't know, but I mean they tend to have good squads. So
yeah, yes, LSU is number 1, Jared. Followed by UConn at number 2, and I think that's because Paige Buckner is probably playing for the first time in 2 years. She's been often injured for the last 2 seasons, and so we haven't seen a lot of her. And the girl can hoop.
Not because I don't want to play LSU, just because I'd love to see them get knocked off. I hope they're a 1 seed, and I hope they get knocked off by a 16 in the first round, just fooling around. And next thing you know,
trying to buy that championship.
Just karma. That's all I'm gonna say. Karma.
Mm-hmm. Any odds of Hawkeyes winning the Big Ten Final Four and repeat as a finalist? That's going to take getting to the Final Four and being the finalists will depend on where their seeding is at the end of the year and for the tournament, and who's in their path. They had the right teams in their path last year. If they'd had LSU, where South Carolina was, I don't think Iowa would have made the final game. But then again, we probably would have had some different refs that wouldn't have been so pro LSU calls, as I'll call them.
Look, at the end of the day, Iowa knocked off the team that nobody was supposed to beat last year.
South Carolina, yeah. South Carolina.
I mean, they were undefeated and cruising their way to a national championship. And so, I mean,
was that their only loss? South Carolina's only loss to Iowa?
I believe so. Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, we took down the evil empire as it were last year. So I mean,
anything can happen.
I think their odds are as good as any of those teams that we just mentioned, right? I mean, it's not inconceivable that they could wind up in the championship game or win the championship. Would it be a failure if they got knocked out in the Elite Eight? Not really.
So maybe we can have a game at Carver and at LSU. Home and home. I think it means home and home series. Yeah, but Caitlin will be gone by that time, guys. By the time they set that up, because it won't happen this season.
Yeah, and I don't think Coach Bluter is. I don't think she's really into that idea.
No, I mean, what's her name? The coach of that, Kim Mulkey.
Yeah, that's her name.
Gosh, I can't handle her.
We don't need Ric Flair, female Ric Flair showing up inside Hawkeye. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we're gonna move on to the men's preview. If you have any questions on the women, feel free to ask them. I don't know what the expectations of the men this year is. National Magazine has them ninth in the Big Ten,
I'm
so
surprised
that's kind of like lower mid, right, of the Big Ten, lower mid.
Well, I think if ninth, if Iowa finishes ninth in the conference, they're probably NIT first four out kind of thing. I mean,
kind of a bubble team, yeah, probably kind of a bubble team. Well, as it is, let me give you what this national magazine says for Iowa men's basketball. Okay, they got Purdue finishing first. Surprise, surprise. And guess what? Our first road game of the year in the Big Ten is to Purdue.
Well, at least we can get that out of the way early.
Get it out of the way early, like December 2nd or something like that.
Well, that's good.
Earlier and earlier every year, the Big Ten starting.
But if there was one road game in the Big Ten you'd like to have early in the year, and you know what? A lot of the times that's when students are on break and stuff like that, right? So maybe we could be catching we could be catching a break, having to play at Mackey. Maybe it won't be as daunting as it otherwise would be.
Yeah. One thing we don't have to worry about is I think Hunter Dickinson's. No, that's Michigan. Never mind. Yeah, wrong guy.
You're thinking of Edey.
And he's coming. He came back, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's probably why they picked first. They picked Michigan State second. Probably the Izzo effect. Izzo's going to bully his way to some wins.
Sure.
Maryland third, which surprised me. They must be, Wisconsin. Doesn't surprise me. I guess they were an NIT Final Four team last year.
By the way, Maryland is. I know it's Maryland. They're more of a value add to the Big Ten than Nebraska has been since Nebraska's been here. Maryland's football team is competitive, right?
Mm-hmm.
If not decent, at least this year, they're on the rise. Their basketball teams, men's and women's, add more value to the Big Ten than anything Nebraska has offered. So,
and their baseball team is pretty solid too.
Right.
They are definitely a value added team. Maryland is, and we're gonna get to see, because they've been playing in the East Division, they're almost guaranteed 3 losses every year. And I think without the divisions next year and without them having to play all those 3 teams all the time, and rotating those three teams. I know there are other teams coming in: Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA. So we might see a better record from them. They might be able to move up a little bit in the standings. We'll see. Well, right now I have them as the 4th best team in the league.
Yeah. I mean, who's to say that, they drop Ohio State and pick up Oregon? You know what I mean? Like, is that really, and traveling all the way out from Maryland to the West Coast? I hear what you're saying, but I mean, you're still going to play good teams, and even the teams. I guarantee, if you look at Maryland's record versus the West, because I know everybody's, they have to play Michigan, Ohio State. Okay, fine. That doesn't excuse them getting housed by Iowa on a Friday night a couple years ago. They just got beat at home by Illinois this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So. I mean, this idea that Maryland would have this outstanding record if they didn't have to play Michigan, Ohio State, or Penn State every year. Don't get me wrong; those are tough games to win, right? But good teams find a way to win one of them every now and then.
Right? Yeah. So, Jared asked who who are the top 5 individual players, top players coming in. I'll give you the top 5 according to this national magazine.
Well, I'd give
Lou Bowie
E.
from Northwestern,
Yeah, I'd give
Terrence
E.
Shanner from Illinois, Jamar Young from Maryland, Zach Eady from Purdue, and Clifford Omori from Rutgers.
Okay, yeah, I can
Okay.
see that.
And then, of course, the next 10 is Ace Baldwin. Our next 5 is Ace Baldwin from Penn State, AJ Hogard from Michigan State. I can't even say that. Somebody from Nebraska,
Uh,
Tyson Walker from Michigan State, and Julian Reese from Maryland. So
Yikes.
Maryland has snagged 2 people in the first 2 teams.
And Iowa has 0. I just throw
Yeah.
that. We have nobody.
Okay, I would like to point out on third team we do have a third teamer.
Oh,
Tony Perkins,
okay.
Braden Smith from Purdue, Dawson Garcia from Minnesota, Mackenzie Magubeko from Indiana. I think he's a freshman, but he's a guy who they're expecting big things from right away. He's going to make a
Iowa's going
difference.
to have to hope that they are more of a sum. The sum is better than the individual parts.
Right.
You know, because
and I think
we don't have a Murray brother. We don't have oh gosh, now I'm drawing a blank. What was big guy's name?
Our big guy?
Yeah.
From last year or this year coming up?
A couple years ago. He's been floating around. I can't think of his name now.
Luke Garza.
Luka Garza. Yeah. I mean, we don't have that superstar guy on the team. He's not there. So,
yeah. Well, this magazine says bad news for Iowa. They're fresh out of Murray brothers.
Right. And apparently Caitlin Clark doesn't have like a brother that, you know, whatever. But we do have the Sanford brothers, right? So there's that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's just it. I think we're expecting big things out of Peyton Stanford this year. So I think Patrick McCaffrey is going to have to step it up, you know.
Right.
I just sometimes he gets a little too wild and he misses point blank drop ins in the basket. How does he miss those? You know. I think they're going to turn to a combination of Ben Krikke, Evan Bronze, and Owen Freeman to be our centers or the number 5 spot, however they like to play it in Iowa. Right. The combination between scoring, rebounding, and block shots between the 3 of them should come out pretty decent. So I could see Fran playing all 3 of them during the game. Here's what I came up with for point guard: Tony Perkins, you know, and he can rotate that with Desante Dix and Brock. I can't remember his last name.
Harding. Brock Harding.
Harding. Shooting guard, I got Peyton Stanford. I don't know if I should have him there or not, but I also put his brother Bryce there. But anyway, Desante Dix or Harding could actually step into that role too, and they can also move Tony Perkins to that role. So honestly, I think he's got about 1, 2, 3. I got 6 guys that could rotate through those 2 positions. That was my theory on that. Okay. For the 4th spot, though, the power forward, I have no idea who to put there. You know, that might be Ben Krikke. That might be his spot. I don't know. I got him at center right now. Maybe Evan Bronze plays the 5 and Ben Krikke plays the 4. I'm not sure.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this is probably the most apathetic I've felt about men's basketball, maybe in since the Todd Licklider days. I mean, I'm just like, I'll watch, but I have spent almost no time becoming emotionally invested in basketball yet. I mean, the season hasn't started yet, but typically, especially about this time, I'm kind of starting to grease the palms a little bit, you know, like, okay, you know, basketball's coming but I'm.
Yeah. Well, Jared wants to know a little bit about who the non-conference teams we are. ISU will be tough to beat this season. They're tough to beat any season, I think, and so we're playing in Ames this year, so
Hmm.
it'll be tough because I honestly don't have any. I'm not going into the season with any expectations with for Iowa team. I
No.
want to see what they do in the preseason non-conference schedule. They don't have that many games in the non-conference schedule that are going to be tough. So they got a pretty light schedule. They do play Creighton at Creighton on November 14th. They play Oklahoma in San Diego on November 23rd, and
Some of
then
these
they play.
games are some of these games are going to be on Peacock too.
Yeah, they will be. Yeah, yeah. I already paid for Peacock. I paid for it a long time ago because there was an ongoing series on there that I've been wanting to watch, and
Mm.
it's called Bel Air, kind of basically the story of
Yeah.
what's his name and his rise.
Right.
Anyway, then they'll play the winner of Seton Hall USC in San Diego on November 24th. They got Iowa State, and let me tell you some of the other. I would think Iowa should win some of these games. They played Quincy in an exhibition game, I believe. Yeah, this coming Monday on BTM Plus for those that have Plus.
Wow.
Uh, okay. They play North Dakota in Iowa City, Alabama in Iowa City, Arkansas State in Iowa City, North Florida in Iowa City.
Oh,
Then
we're
on
playing
December,
UNF.
hmm?
We're
What's
playing
that?
UNF. I didn't realize we were playing UNF.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Are they pretty solid team or not? Because you probably more familiar with them
They're
down there.
they're they had a couple of decent years. They had a kid named Bo Beach, and
Okay,
he was a little Bohannon like, in that he could drain threes, but
okay,
he's been gone for a couple of years, and UNF hasn't really been that good. So
yeah. So we get Purdue on the road on December 4th. Um, that's probably a loss. And then the Iowa State game, and then following the Iowa State game, we get Michigan at home. By that time, we should have a good feel for this team, what they're going to be able and capable of doing. And then they play Florida A&M in Des Moines with that doubleheader with the women.
okay,
Um, they play UMBC, whoever that UMBC is. Any
Mm,
idea? University of Michigan at British Columbia or something? I don't know.
something along those Maryland something Maryland Beach Community College or something.
Anyway, they play them in Iowa City. Play Northern Illinois in Iowa City. So outside of those, Creighton, Oklahoma, Seton Hall, USC, and Iowa State, Northern Illinois, in my opinion, will be the toughest of the other non-conference games. The
Hmm.
rest of them should be a cakewalk for Iowa, but like I said, who knows what to expect with this team this year. It
I
will
don't.
be, like you said, it will be by committee this year. It'll be a team, true team. I mean, we may have a bunch of guys averaging, 14 to 15, 18, 19 points, and that's just the way it's going to be because everybody's going to contribute this year. Although McCaffrey said that he felt that Peyton Stanford could possibly become a 20-point scorer, on average 20-point score. Felt like he'll get him in some games, but felt like if anybody was going to rise to the occasion and scored an average 20 points a game, it would be him.
I could really honestly see it being one of those things where every game there's kind of somebody new that uh you know tonight it's Tony Freeman going off for 23, then the
Mm-hmm.
next night it's Cricky getting 16 and 10 rebounds, and then
Right.
another night it's going to be Sanford or someone else. Yeah, it's just I the team doesn't have a goat, doesn't have a guy, doesn't have a dog.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a concern, but at the same time, uh, it could be helpful because you don't have that guy that everybody kind of relies on,
Mm-hmm.
to be the guy, so.
Cool. Yeah. Um.
We gonna
Yeah.
do any
It's
picks
just.
this week, or
Hmm?
are we doing picks this week, or no? Or
I didn't put any together.
Don't need to then. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
Coach ain't here. What
Yeah,
about
Coach ain't
last
here.
week's picks? I don't think last week's picks went very good.
Well, I'll probably have to ask you a couple games because I don't know who won them, but I will bring them up right now for you.
Oh, Lord.
Okay. We all lost the Iowa game. You're the only one that won the Penn State Ohio State game.
Mm.
Uh,
That's right, because I'm like, well, if I'm going to go out on a limb, let me take the Buckeyes, right?
yeah.
You know?
I don't know who won the Bama Tennessee game.
Bama won.
Bama won, so we all won that. I don't know who won the Florida State Duke game.
Florida State won.
Okay, so we all won that. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Oh, Air Force Navy.
Air Force won, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. All right. Then you're the only one that went against them, but you had to. It would be you'd be crucified by your fellow seamen.
That's right.
Okay. So 1, 2, 3 losses by Jason this week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 losses by you. 1, 2, 3 losses by me.
Mm.
So I will put that together for our next show and add them to our previous score. I don't have that ready to go, and so we'll do that later. So, a couple of things I was going to bring up. Okay, CBS has. What do you think CBS has Iowa ranked right now?
In football?
No, in basketball. I have no idea. That there is a headline about Iowa's free fall from the rankings, so we may be way down there now.
In men's basketball?
Mm-hmm.
Where is
CBS's preseason poll for men's basketball?
What do they rank all 300 teams or something?
They must have, or no, the top 100. The top 100.
Oh, are we in the top 100?
We're in the top 100.
Well, then we have to be down somewhere in like the 70s, I would think. Like
Good choice. 79.
79, yeah.
79.
Which, you know what? When we started talking about the men and their 9th place finish, we said they would be a bubble team, maybe an NIT, whatever. That 79
probably represents that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to be top 25 already. Jared, they're according to CBS, they're number 79. Yeah. I think in order to get to the dance, though, I don't even know if I really want us to go to the dance. If I don't know what we're going to do yet, I shouldn't even talk like we're not going to win 20 games or something, because, I think, like you said earlier, this is going to be more of a win by committee team type thing this year, and I think they could still score a lot of points. I really do believe that.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, we only won 19 games last year, and can I say that I feel like some of those games, a certain Murray brother didn't show up mentally for some of those games,
Yeah.
and a lot of those were a lot of losses that Iowa piled up was because he didn't.
Well, that and then
he didn't actually. I felt mentally he just wasn't into the game.
And we had a McCaffrey who had a mental breakdown and missed part of the season, right? So,
and he was never the same after he came back.
He really wasn't. So,
no, he came off the bench to play.
His head's on straight, and we'll be all right.
Yeah, maybe he's taking some lessons from his brother's girlfriend now, and learning how to shoot some threes. Say, Caitlin, can you come out here at the 3 line and show me how to do it?
Teach me how to Dougie.
Yeah. So, yeah. You guys got any more questions you want to throw out? There's still 2 of you watching.
Mm-hmm.
I assume Jared's one of them.
Right.
Casey might be the other.
Yeah.
Or maybe you guys have switched over and have started watching no, Kirk Ferentz show isn't on tonight. Yes, good job. We don't have to deal with him tonight.
So let me ask. I might have asked this on the last one that I was on, but offense, defense, special teams. Right now, who do you have from Iowa on, say, a first team All Big Ten?
Special teams. It would be Cooper and Troy. Defense.
Cooper.
I think that's Cooper could make it. What's his name? Why can't it? Castro could make it.
Castro, I like that one.
What's the other one? It's like I've been thinking in my mind. They're kind of all three of them could possibly make it.
You've got to be talking about the linebacker. Geez, now you got me.
Yeah.
Can't remember his name. 34, right?
Yeah.
Higgins. Jay Higgins. Higgins.
Yep, Higgins. Yeah, Higgins. And we've been waiting for him for a couple of years. He's shown little flashes here and there. Yeah. Jared, it's okay. We did it on the fly. It was something we weren't going to do, and the guys kind of talked about wanting to do it because they had some things to say. And by the time we got around to doing it, Paul had to go to sleep for work. And honestly, I know you watched the podcast, but honestly, I just don't think it was that great of a podcast. I kind of question us going live that close to a loss like that. But we did it. We had a good turnout. A lot of people commented and stuff. And
I'm sure everybody wanted to get release their frustrations about it. So
right. Want to discuss that Minnesota loss. Well, we got a few minutes, Jared. What do you want to say about it?
First of all, Iowa didn't lose that game. Let's just start with that.
Yeah. I keep getting told that. Iowa didn't lose that game. They won it. It was stolen from them. I like that meme that's out there where they show a picture of the pig and saying stolen. Reward for its return or something.
Yeah. I guess, and I've seen plenty of people say this. Well, Iowa didn't deserve to win because they only scored 10 points. And, you can look at that the exact same way or the exact opposite and say, well, Iowa absolutely deserved to win because they held Minnesota to just 12 points.
Mm-hmm.
And really Iowa had 17. So, I mean.
Right. Another thing too. We don't turn the ball over 3 times by our quarterback. They don't have 12 points on the board. We kind of gifted them at least 3 points. So even without Cooper's touchdown, we win the game 10-9 at worst. At worst.
Yeah.
At worst.
Yeah. And in previous generations of media, right? People would have questions for Kirk like, okay, so if Joe is so not ready to play, or if the current quarterback gives us the best chance to win, and the answer is not on the roster, then whose failure is that, right? That's the question that probably should be asked.
Right.
And I get we're already playing our backup quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, to that point, I understand. But Labus has been here for, 2-3 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Marco is a true freshman, but
hey, he wouldn't be the first true freshman to play quarterback at a Division I college.
Correct. And again, if it's as dire as what Kirk kind of says it is, like, oh, this guy's clearly the best option that we have, right? Then what is that? Then whose failure was it in the recruiting process? Whose failure is it in the development process that somebody else can't come in and hand the ball off and throw 10 passes a game without turning it over 3 times?
Yeah, I would say I kind of do miss Padilla because he knows the system. Granted, his completion percentage was in the 40s, but that's much higher than the completion percentage of our current quarterback, who's like 37% or something.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, I
know,
mean, Dean, you and I could throw 37%. I mean, all you got to do is just in today's college football game, it's not that hard to complete, you know, 3 out of 10 passes, 4 out of 10 to get there, right? Like, so
right?
you would think that, uh,
Well,
you
let's ask this question though. Our last couple of quarterbacks have struggled. Okay.
know,
Um, I mean, even Joe last year, in the bowl game, of course, we got out to that quick 21-point lead thanks to the defense. So they
right.
basically bottled him up the rest of the game. Um, but is it the scheme or is it the quarterback? Are we making wrong judgments on the quarterback? Are we recruiting the wrong guys for our scheme?
Again, it's such a holistic issue with the offense. Like it seems like there's an issue with pass protection, right? There's an issue with guys getting open. There's an issue with the balls not being catchable. There's an issue with when they are catchable, guys not catching the football.
Right.
There's an issue with uh, predictability, which I do think we've gotten a little away from that a little bit, right? We're running out of the shotgun and doing some things that are tendency breakers.
Right.
Falling in love with that stupid tight end middle screen, which hasn't worked all season, right?
Yeah. That's because we don't have Laporta to do it.
Yeah. It's like, and I know I made the point a couple of weeks ago. If Michigan lost their quarterback and their tight ends, and had to play with what the roster that we have, it's not looking any better. So I really don't know that it's not in-game coaching and it's not scheme to me. I think it's player talent, and you got to go to war with the guys you got, and
and I agree with that. And Kirk as much as said that, he goes, we're doing what we do with the guys that we've got, the guys that we have available. I think the only thing that I think is ticking people off right now is that we're not giving the other quarterback a shot. Another quarterback a shot, because it's obvious that he's not getting the job done. He got lucky and won a couple of games. Okay, he didn't get lucky this time because the referees took that luck away. But there was another game he played that we don't win if Cooper doesn't get a punt return for a touchdown there. We
Michigan
don't win
State,
that game either.
right?
And so hoping that your defense will score for you, and this 3 punts and a kick, so you can keep the other team buried at the other end of the field, sometimes doesn't work. You got to get more aggressive. That's playing not to lose the game. And when you play not to lose the game, you will lose games.
Yeah. So, I mean, and everybody is different. For me, right, I look at what this team can and can't do well. I would not be going 3 tight ends down your top 2 tight ends, right? I mean, we're just and bunching everybody up and then trying to run the football like we're in some kind of goal line offense. I mean, I would try to do more like what our teams against us early in the season, spread out the defenses and try to run the football that way. And if we see that they're still sending guys from further away, fine. Then let's throw into those blitzes, and
Yeah.
But
Minnesota did something that not only did they stack the box, but they also brought all their guys up behind those guys, because they knew we couldn't throw the ball.
right.
And their theory is if we got one deep on them, so be it. So be it. But they knew we weren't going to. They knew we weren't going to hit one, because we've proved for the last 4 games we can't hit those.
That's a scary thing though, because in a game as close as that was low scoring, 12-10, all it would have took was 1, right? So I mean, they played with fire. They just luckily didn't get burned.
Yeah, and they knew it. I just say give the Minnesota coach. They took a risk, and they knew they wouldn't. They knew they weren't going to get burned, but they took the risk and did it anyway.
So,
They didn't want to leave the gap there because that's what he was talking about. Is when other teams have stacked the box, they've left the gap there because they left their other guys deeper, and they left that big gap. And so when they got in that hole, once they got through it, they could pick up 8 or 9, 10 yards at crack. And that's what we were doing the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. At this point, I'd rather have a guy that can't throw the ball 50 yards down the field, but everything he throws is perfectly accurate. You know what I mean? Like, give me a guy who doesn't have the world's strongest arm, but he puts the ball in the right spots and he makes the right decisions.
Yeah. Jared, I kind of explained that a little bit. Is they stack the box on us like a lot of teams are doing, but they also brought up the rest of the DBs and stuff. They brought them up to close the gap in between, so that had they gotten through that first line, that they wouldn't pick up any more yardage than that. Plus, they were doing a lot of run blitzing, I thought. More than I'd seen any other team do. And it was effective. I mean, love or hate the man, he came up with a great game plan, and I'm sure that he didn't do it all by himself. I'm sure he and his coaches discussed it after watching film of the Iowa game, especially watching the game the week before, because that game was kind of like self-fulfilling prophecy on the Wisconsin game.
There are things you can do. You can run some pick routes because teams at this point, they're all playing man against us.
Mm-hmm.
And they are, focused on stopping the run first, second, and third. So, I mean, there are things we could do to get guys running open, but then you have to have a quarterback that can complete that pass. And right now we don't have that.
Yeah.
So
we don't have that.
I don't know what you scheme, but I do know that you don't group everybody together the way we are and then try to move the football that way. It's just not going to work.
Right. Correct. Yeah. Do you guys remember how Joey performed against Kentucky in last year's bowl game? Yes, we do. He did good enough to get the win. I think he's better for short passes. I think Brian wants to run more screenplays. What do you think about that?
Again, you have to have the quarterback for that. And as far as, the Kentucky thing, Kentucky was playing a bunch of backups, especially
including,
like their whole D line was second team. They had a couple of NFL draft picks that sat out the bowl game on defense. Their quarterback didn't play. He was that transfer from Penn State, right? Was it Levias or whatever his name was? Levis?
I actually forget. Levis?
I mean, that wasn't Kentucky's best team that they put on the field, and it was pretty much Iowa's.
Yeah. And I think that's the game we got Laporta back for, I believe. Laporta played that game. And hats off to Laporta and Campbell for deciding to play that game, because they both could have sat out because they knew that their stock in the NFL would be just fine. Sure. And they risked injury, but they wanted to be there for their teammates. And you got to appreciate that, that they're there for their teammates to help them win one final game before they move on to their careers.
Yeah.
It's like, but I don't think, do you see, because we're probably losing Cooper this year. We're losing Castro this year. Losing Higgins this year.
Losing Shannon this year.
Do you think all those guys have NFL potential draft status? Sure. Do you think that if we do go to a bowl game, those guys may drop out and not play?
I don't think that's really the Iowa way for the most part.
It's not. I mean? We really haven't had a major issue with that. Just a couple of people here and there.
And I think a lot of that speaks to, we talk about like, why has Nebraska struggled for years with losing close games and whatever, and their guys kind of, I don't want to say quitting, but they're not as invested as we talk about the Iowa guys are, right? And you see that when we're playing in the Nashville Bowl, whatever that's called, against Kentucky that had 8 guys sitting out for that very reason, and our guys are coming back and playing. And that speaks to their character, but also the character of the program.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. And by the way, Nebraska's starting to win close games, so
Well,
I foresee, and I told this to somebody already that I talked to earlier. I foresee the Big Ten West, if Iowa can win out their last 4 games or next 3 games, because I think Nebraska, has a chance to win their next couple of games too. Their schedule's not that daunting, and it just depends where they're at. I think the West title comes down to Nebraska and Iowa on that game.
It very well could.
And I think that's what the Big Ten's been wanting for years when they set that game up, was for the title to go through those 2 teams, that there would be a Big Ten title on the line, or Big Ten West championship on the line during that weekend. That's what they wanted to see, and I think they're going to get it this year.
Yeah.
Because one team's on the rise and one team is on the downs.
Well, man, we've gone an hour. We've talked hoops. We've talked football.
Yeah, I think it's time to put a bow on this one and say goodnight. Guys, we'll see you probably for the preview show next week. We probably won't do a podcast this weekend unless we talk about it and we decide we want to do some Big Ten stuff or something.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But right now, I'm not going to schedule one unless the guys want to do it. So we'll probably see you guys a week from tonight, or a week from last night, or however we decide to go.
Maybe we'll turn the show over to you guys next time and just ask us anything. So something like that.
Yeah, we'll start pumping it early so that people can do that.
There you go.
Okay. Jared's got another comment. Future bowl games may look more like glorified exhibition with players opting out.
They already look that way.
Yeah. Yeah, great show. Thank you, Jared. We appreciate it. We do very much. Jared, tell your friends, share it with them. When you guys get on, please share it right away with go share it into the Facebook pages and see if anybody will come and join us. I know there was low numbers tonight. I'm not sure why. We're not usually this low, but it is what it is. And we'll see you guys next time. I'll talk to the guys, and we'll see when we actually do our next show. All right, Paul, good night. Thank you for being here tonight.
Yeah, my pleasure. Good night, everybody. Go Hawks.
Good night. Go Hawks. And Terry, sorry you weren't on the show. I thought for sure you'd be on the show tonight.